Hey guys, Tarke here, and if you've seen the last video, you'll know that we had some woes with the champion Corsica character, and I was feeling a bit ill yesterday. So literally right after I recorded that video, I thought, you know what, let's YOLO this character into its zero, and we'll let it zero decide if we're re-rolling or not. And now playing Occultist. So yeah, you can see my It Zero run on the YouTube. It was my first ever It Zero. I went into it very, very out of it, and it went as expected. It was actually a lot of fun though, so I'm looking forward to hopefully having a more successful time with It Zero on this character, although that isn't the main focus of this character. It's something I would like to pursue a little bit. So this is the bad Corsica build. I'm calling it the bad Corsica build because this is just what I think CI Corsica should look like, and currently my internet is down. So I cannot double check that, but my internet's been down for the last few hours and I haven't got anything else to do, so let's record some videos. Now, it's going to be Tri-Curse, and we're going to run, the plan is that we have enough mana reservation through Charisma to run Discipline, Blasphemy, Temp, Enfeeble. So we'll run Temp, Enfeeble on Blasphemy, get the third curse from the Witchfire Brew, which is why we get Malediction and Whispers of Doom. We also pick up Hexmaster since we're near it, so that makes our curses a bit better. We also get this stuff which makes our curses a bit better. So we'll have some pretty juiced up Tri-Curse action. Nice layers of defense, very high energy shield, we get some boosted energy shield recharge, Wicked Ward. I'm not sure if I want to use Soul Strike as my main quiver over Drill Neck. Whatever way I do it, I will be running Pierce on Corsica just because Pierce on Corsica is so amazing. I think I'll use Drill Neck as my go-to, but if I feel like I can drop the Drill Neck for a Soul Strike for more defense, I'll do it, but we're just going to be using Drill Neck. Especially since the nerfs to Soul Strike, I think that the Drill Neck versus Soul Strike thing, Drill Neck just pulls ahead. But yeah. One thing you can also do, just to make stuff like running Lab a bit easier, or if you know that there's something particularly sketchy, is you can have a weapon swap. So if your main setup is your +3 bow plus the Drill Neck, you can weapon swap to a Soul Strike and a Darkscorn bow. Darkscorn bow converts 25% of the physical damage you take into chaos damage, because with CI we're immune. So if you're just like running traps and stuff, you can weapon swap to that, take like no damage from the traps because they mostly all do just physical damage. Have the Soul Strike super regen, with the regen we get the tree, so on and so forth. Same with like very scary bosses, you can drop all your clouds, drop your Wither Totem, throw out some essence drains or whatever, and then if you're really paranoid, you can always just like weapon swap to your tank setup. Now, otherwise the tree is pretty straightforward. The only things that I'm a little kind of unsure about where I'd want to go with, there is the option of taking Heart and Soul and Cruel Preparation, putting in energy from within Jewel here, convert all of that into energy shield, convert all of that into energy shield. The nice thing about that is it gets you a bunch of mana. Mana is a bit of an issue in a lot of Corsica builds. So that would be very nice, picking up the extra mana, and getting some extra resists is always decent. So that's like a pretty good option. Currently, energy from within's are pretty expensive in hardcore. So I'm not sure if I want to rock 2, and also if I do that, I then need to, free up 6 points. So I'll think about that. But that's potential. Energy from within, obviously here with melding, it's just good. I think I'm going to stick with Essence Surge. I might not need Essence Surge, it might be overkill, but I think I'll stick with that. Coming through, a lot of people just get Entropy and they don't follow up into Coordination into Soul Siphon. Getting Coordination, for 1 point, 10% damage is fine. It's not amazing, but it's fine. Coordination gives some attack speed, it gives some cast speed, it gives some stats. So we currently have 134 decks on the tree. We need decks for our Corsica and Void Manipulation, all that other stuff. So it's not like Dex is completely useless. We have enough Dex though. The Int is obviously okay because we're a CI build. The cast speed makes our Wither Totem better, and the attack speed makes the build just feel smoother. One of the bad things about playing as a Occultist Corsica build is you get like no attack speed, so the build feels quite sluggish. Whereas when you do it as life-based, you generally pick up quite a few attack speed nodes just through your routing. So I feel like getting Coordination will actually do quite a lot to just make the build feel a bit smoother. Also, Soul Siphon for 2 points is very good. Again, Corsica builds struggle with mana, and just having a little bit of mana gained on kill somewhere in your gear or just from Soul Siphon is often enough that the build works without needing to rely on clarity and stuff. So I feel like, the extra 4 points here are pretty efficient. One thing you can do, however, is you can drop these points. So if you just go up to Entropy, You could instead spend 4 points here and get Primal Spirit. This gives you Proj speed, Proj damage, obviously very good. This gives more damage than taking damage over time here, so you know that's a win-win. Get some stats, don't get the int, but you know you get that. You also get some more dex here, obviously pretty good. And then you get some mana regen, flask charges gained, some strength and some int. So this gives you overall better stats, overall better damage. You don't get the attack speed, you don't get the cast speed, but you get the better flask charges. So this is probably a better use of the 4 points if mana isn't an issue. Even though this does give more mana and more mana regen, the mana gain on kill is really, really important. So if we can get some mana kill on gear, then I'd probably rather spend these 4 points coming down this way. If not, then go that way. This also opens you up to potentially spending another few points to get down to Druidic Rite. Now 5 points is quite a lot of investment, but if you can pull it off, that gives you a bunch of mana regen, fast charges gained, fast charge duration, also does give you some attack speed, and yeah. I feel like for 5 points that's probably too much, but for 4 points this feels okay. So that's kind of just like a small 4 point thing. They basically do the same thing, and it'll just be which one I prefer. As for the Pierce cluster, we're going Pierce, we need the Pierce cluster. If we use a Soul Strike, then we need to spend an extra point to pick up the 10% here. If we're using a uncorrupted drill neck, we can go at the bottom. If we have a corrupted drill neck, we'll need the top. So that's kind of set. Charisma is set. Chaos damage is set. Oh, one other advantage of coming this way is it then does give you access to more chaos damage later at high levels, but that only becomes important at very high levels. 2 point jewels you'd never cut. If you did drop Essence Surge, you could root through here for 2 points. You'd probably just still root through this for 1 point, so that's just maybe 4 points, but I feel like it's kind of too good to cut. And yeah, that's basically it really. It's not a very optional tree. It's kind of, I would argue this is the base that you're kind of locked into. There's nothing really that you can trim that feels unnecessary. Very efficient routing, very little wasted travel, which I like. It's kind of just like, that's your tree. Play around with the 5 or 10 points so that you've got messing about. For bandits, kill, and then I'm not sure if I want to kill in Merciless or go Frenzy. I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to fit Frenzy charges into this build. So if we bring up my proposed links. Now, in the Life version, we were using a Frenzy Curse on Hit setup, but in the Life version, we weren't having to juggle, you know, a bunch of Blasphemy Curse auras, so we're a bit tighter on the links for this. So here where it would have been, ignore that, that was the old. Here where it would have been Frenzy Curse on Hit, Vulnerability, GMP, we instead have Discipline, Blasphemy, Temp, Enfeeble. And here we have Cast on Unshaken Mortal Coil, Duration, Vaal Discipline. So that leaves us with 2 floating sockets. That's assuming we have 5 links. It gives us a floating socket in the weapon and a floating socket in the chest, which would be for Vaal Lightning Trap, Blink Arrow, or Golem if you want to run a Golem. Obviously, if we end up with 6 links, then you need to like cut durations from things to fit other stuff in. So it does get very starved on links, and the potential of having a 6-link bow really isn't that extreme. If you have a look at, not that, if you have a look at this, I managed to have some search updates going up before my internet crashed. You can get some 6-link plus 3 bows. Yeah, they're not like Delirium crafted or whatever, but you can get them for 100 chaos, 160 chaos. They're not that expensive. So getting a, you know, plus 3 6-link bow is very achievable this late into the league in hardcore right now. So it's very likely that we're going to run into issues with, you know, having floating sockets. So what will most likely happen is cut the duration here, put in Vaal Lightning Trap, and then put Blink Arrow into a 5-link 6-socket chest. I can't really see what else I could cut or shuffle around. I'd be interested in your input, people who've been playing CI Corsair. I've only played Life Corsair before. But it's kind of, it looks pretty set in stone as far as I can see. I'm not really sure what you would mess around with. That being said, however, this should be a much smoother character than the Corsair champion. The Corsair champion was working fine. Like, there was nothing terribly wrong with it. It lacked quality of life in the fact that, and I'll go into this in more detail when I do my final bow build roundup at the end of the league. But the only thing which felt really good about this was the movement speed from Queen of the Forest. But the issue you kind of have is that you can invest really heavily into items like Queen of the Forest, running Grace, running a bunch of Flasks which boost your evasion, you know, getting as much, you know, pseudo evasion scaling as you can through ascendancies and, you know, through the passive tree and stuff. And you go through all this work and you'll end up with about, you know, somewhere between 160 and about 220% movement speed, assuming you've got like good gear but not insane levels of gear, and assuming you're not using stuff like Devoto's Devotion. So just running like Queen of the Forest, rares everywhere, you know, high level Grace, some evasion skill on the tree, Flask active, you're probably going to cap out around about, you know, 220% movement speed. Now, you can do all of that to get that, or you can just be a Pathfinder, and my explosive arrow Pathfinder, and the only like investment I had into movement speed on that character, because I wasn't running into Devotos in the end, I wasn't running Vaal Haste in the end because it felt like overkill, I was on something like 160, 170% movement speed, and that's just because of all the Flask effectiveness and Nature's Adrenaline making Quicksilver's completely utterly ridiculous. So yeah, it's kind of just like, well, if you want to move quickly, screw Queen of the Forest, just play a Pathfinder. Just just play a Pathfinder. You also get free poison as Pathfinder, so yeah, it's just like, I mean, you can use much more defensive chests and kind of just have more rounded character, but we knew that Pathfinders were good. But anyway, so yeah, this is the build that we're playing. It's going to be Occultist, it's going to have AoE, it's going to have more deeps than the other version, because it has the Chaos Pen, has Profane Bloom, which helps clear packs quite a lot. One other thing that I'm kind of toying around with the idea of, and this will change a little bit depending on if I use stuff like Soul Strike or if I use stuff like Drill Neck, and this also makes taking Proj on the tree feel a bit worse. I might mess around with running Blight for single target instead of Essence Drain. Most people use Essence Drain for single target with Caustic Arrow because it scales off all the same things as Caustic Arrow, projectile damage, chaos damage, well, not area damage, but you get my point. Obviously, as a Occultist, we do get some area damage. So, you know, we get 30% area damage here. You do get 30% Proj damage here, and if you went Drill Neck, obviously you get more Proj damage. But my point is, we do get some AoE scaling, and without poison in your Essence Drain, Blight should do better single target. So I'm thinking, well, maybe I'll mess around with running Blight for single target. I'll see if I prefer it to Essence Drain, and I probably will just fall back onto Essence Drain, but Blight might pull ahead, and obviously it's one of those things. Blight is still a pretty new skill. I tried doing some research on the forums on Reddit to see if other people have tried Blight with Caustic Arrow, but nothing popped up, so we'll try it out, and if we like it, great. If we dislike it, then whatever. One nice thing about Blight is the colours for Essence Drain have a lot of greens. So you can have looking like blue, then like 4 greens or 3 greens and a red if you have an Empower. Whereas with Blight, you get mostly blues. So it makes colouring your chest a bit easier, assuming that you're running just a straightforward, you know, Vaal Regalia or something. Yeah. One other thing, I know I said that too much. Kind of tempted to try out Zeri's, I want to say, is it Zeri's Splendor is the chest, isn't it? Because you can get fairly easily like a 700 or 800 ES Zeri's Splendor, and it gives up to 24. It's either 24 or 25. I want to say 24 all res, but it gives the 100 life, 100 mana on kill. Getting that 100 mana on kill would be insane for Caustic Arrow. And because it's a hybrid chest, so if you don't know, it's like the super chest which has armor, evasion, and energy shield. You can get like an 800 energy shield one, but it's fully hybrid. So getting a bunch of off colors on it is very, very easy. So if we did end up running Essence Drain, you know, getting like 4 off color on a Vaal Regalia would normally be pretty expensive, but on an Zeri Splendor is face roll. So yeah, that's potential. I need to see how expensive they are on hardcore. They're, last time I looked, they're like 50-ish C for just like a decent one. So, you know, they're not that expensive. But, yeah. So I'm Tarke. This is the proposed build. Leveling it depends on when my internet gets back on. I started leveling it yesterday, TarkeBlueLife, and I'm in like Act 3 or something. But yeah, anyway, I'm rambling at this point. I'm Tarke. Hopefully I get internet back soon. Have a good day. Bye-bye.